Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Dynasty Drip today. Coming off a fun weekend of football, I'm going to come at you with some of my buy lows, buy now players for Dynasty this week. If you guys are coming from the channel last week and you subscribed, awesome to see you again. If you are a new viewer, make sure to hit subscribe below, like the video. If you ever have any trade questions or advice you need, drop a comment. I'm super quick about getting back to you guys. I love interacting with everyone. But let's get today's video kicked off. These are some guys I'm trying to buy low on or buy now. You know, some of them are probably a little lower than others. First guy I want to talk about, though, is going to be McConkey. Now, I think when it comes to McConkey, you need to maybe limit your expectations as a top 5 kind of dynasty wide receiver. I don't really think he's ever going to get there. The thing with McConkey is, you know, he was basically a 4-year starter player in college, came into the NFL, very good route runner, very smart guy, and he fit the system immediately and had a lot of chemistry with Justin Herbert. So he's going to be just fine in Dynasty at his KTC rank of wide receiver 13 right now. I think it's a very good buy low or buy now opportunity for a guy like McConkey because he hasn't really started super fast. His TDs will come, his spike weeks will come with Justin Herbert slinging the ball around. Obviously, it's not the best news that Keenan Allen is there and stealing some of these clutch opportunities from him, some of these 3rd and 4th down catches. And Quentin Johnson looks pretty good on the deep ball, but I do think all of these players can exist. And for me, McConkey is a guy I would love to go target to get a really solid wide receiver 2, high-end kind of wide receiver 2 vibe for my Dynasty team. I'd be willing to sell someone like, you know, Marvin Harrison Jr. and a Will Shipley, a handcuff kind of deep bench guy. If I can tear up from a Marvin Harrison, see what they want, you know, maybe throw in a 4th round pick or something. I don't want to, you know, I'm not going to trade like Harrison in 2 seconds or something. I'm not going that far for McConkey, but I do think there's some value right now in acquiring him for your Dynasty team just because he's had 3 weeks. He hasn't had over 75 yards in any of them, and he hasn't been like a spike week player yet to start the season. Now, next guy I want to talk about had his best game of the season, wasn't still too crazy, but I think I like what I'm seeing in the progression of Matthew Golden. Very good separation scores, seems to be involved in the offense, and he's going to have the opportunity with Jaden Reed missing a big chunk of the season. They did take this dude in the 1st round. He's a very good route runner, and I think he's going to develop into more of a weapon for the Packers team. You know, they just kind of went up against the Browns team this week. That's a very, very good defense and was really pressuring Jordan Love in that Packers loss. So for me, a trade for Matthew Golden, something I'd be willing to trade would be, you know, a mid-career running back like a Chuba Hubbard, a lower-end RB2 straight up for Matthew Golden. You know, maybe you could trade someone like a David Montgomery and a pick, J.K. Dobbins and a pick, Kareem Hunt, Pacheco, you know, someone in that area and maybe throw some stuff on top of it to go get Golden. I still think long-term, Golden's a very good asset to own, and he hasn't spiked enough yet that I think he's unattainable by any means. So for me, Matthew Golden, a guy that could really raise in the ranks a little bit. I think he could just show some more down the stretch for the Packers, who seem to have it going as a team. They just didn't have the best offense this week against Cleveland. But someone who has started out good, and I just like the situation he's in, is Michael Pittman. I think because he's had some up and downs in his career, he's not going to be the most pricey guy to go acquire. Now, I don't think you're going to get him like super, super cheap. Like, I'm not offering a 3rd round pick for Michael Pittman. But he seems to have a good connection with Daniel Jones. He seems to be past his back injury from last year. He's still on the team for this season and next year, only 27. So plenty of time left for Pittman to still get some use on your team. I'm suggesting trading Bashal Tutin, a guy who has a little hype as a running back there in Jacksonville. I think using a 2nd round pick and maybe something on top of that to get Michael Pittman is a deal that could get done as well. And I would be comfortable paying that if I'm a contender type where I would expect my pick in the 2nd round to be in the second half of that round. I just think Michael Pittman slots in as a pretty good weekly starter for your team, whether that's a wide receiver 3 or a flex position. If you got to play him at wide receiver 2 on a bye week, I don't really think he's going to burn you there. He looks very involved, and the Colts look like one of those teams that might just have their stuff together for the year. Daniel Jones looked very comfortable in that system. So I like going after Michael Pittman. Call it a post-hype guy to go acquire or whatever. It's possible someone who owns him has just soured on him, and he might be available for trade in your league. Next one, a player we haven't seen yet this year. So this is more in anticipation of him returning, or maybe it's because Mark Andrews has been pretty underwhelming so far. But Isaiah Likely is a guy I want to go make an offer for in my league. For me, I just think he's the future of tight end for the Baltimore Ravens. And yes, Andrews is off to a slow start, but historically, Lamar has had a good connection with his tight end. Likely has flashed in the past. And if I can go get Isaiah Likely, I might be able to get myself a tight end 1 for the next 3 to 5 years on my dynasty team for tight end 13 prices on KTC right now. I'm suggesting trading Dylan Sampson, a guy who I think might fall in the ranks even more than he is right now that Judkins is back. Judkins just completely took over the backfield, and I don't know if Sampson's going to go up in the ranks. I still think he's a good player, a good handcuff. Maybe he works in as a flex-worthy player if Cleveland ever gets their offense like really together and they start becoming more efficient. But for me, there's much more upside in getting a guy like Likely onto your team who could be an every week starter. Where a guy like Sampson, I don't really think you're playing him at this point in Dynasty unless you have him as like an injury handcuff to Judkins moving forward. Another guy I like, he was on the stash list from last week, but another solid outing from Parker Washington. He's becoming more involved in the offense as Travis Hunter seems to be becoming less involved. I don't know if that trend's going to continue with Hunter, but as for Parker Washington, he has a very good catch rate, and he's making plays for the Jaguars. He had 7 targets. He didn't get every one of the catches. He had like 7-point-something points in a PPR league, but he continues to be involved, and I want to invest just to see what happens in him. A 28 late third is not a heavy investment, so I'm not really saying like sell the farm for this guy, but I want to put him on my bench. If he's still on waivers, go pick him up in your dynasty league. I mean, he was on waivers in my league last week. I picked him up, so it's possible that no one picked him up and he's still sitting there for you. But even just putting this guy on your bench is someone I'm intrigued by, whether it's for the Jacksonville Jaguars this year or it's his next stop as a professional player. Like, he could have some years of success after his rookie contract is up. I think he just profiles as a very good slot player in the NFL. I remember watching him as a rookie. He reminded me of like a Christian Kirk, which, yes, Christian Kirk was never wide receiver 5 or something, but Christian Kirk had some valuable years in Dynasty. And if you're getting this guy for a mid to late third 3 years from now, or you're picking him up off waivers, I like going after Parker Washington. And I saved this one for last because obviously it's not going to be for every team, and this trade very well may not get done in your league. But if Jamar Chase is sitting on a super contender team, it's possible they may be slightly concerned. And if you have someone like an Amon-Ra or another elite wide receiver that you would be willing to tier up off of to try and get Jamar Chase, I think it's an offer you should at least send. I don't really know what's going to get it done. I mean, obviously, Jamar Chase is not a guy you're going to pry easily from someone, but you have to start with an elite asset and go from there. Amon-Ra, Keon Coleman, Jonnu Smith is my suggestion. Maybe he needs some wide receiver help and a tight end. Amon-Ra and some picks, Amon-Ra and a running back. You know, those kind of trades may get it done. No promises, though. Obviously, like if I was you, I wouldn't trade Jamar Chase. I would just hold out and hope he has some good games. Your dynasty is not over because you don't win 1 year. But I think Jamar Chase is someone you should at least send an offer for if you have a chance to acquire him, because in the end, I would much rather take the player that's paired with Joe Burrow for his foreseeable future. Even though I love Amon-Ra, he doesn't have the ceiling that Jamar Chase has like he showed last year. But in general, I appreciate you guys coming to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, please hit me up in the comments below. If you are not subscribed, please do. Tell me about your guys' trades you're making in your leagues. Make sure to like the video. I appreciate you guys for checking out Dynasty Drip. I'm Sam. If you haven't been here before, nice to meet you, and I'll catch you guys later this week.